Narrator, tone, serious. My name is Jack. After graduating, I started an internet technology company. Over the years, I've made quite a bit of money, and I can be considered one of the top young entrepreneurs who started from scratch. Traveling for business projects is a regular occurrence for me. On one of these trips, I met Emily, a flight attendant, on a plane. Sitting in first class that day, her neat shoulder-length hair immediately caught my attention. She had a completely different aura compared to other flight attendants.
Sir, is there anything you need?
She asked with a smile, noticing that I kept looking at her. Sitting in first class usually indicates a certain level of financial capability, and I don't look too bad either. After a few exchanges, I smoothly got her WeChat.
I found out she was also from our city.
Emily is exceptionally beautiful and has a great temperament. Naturally, her quality of life is high, and she only uses high-end products.
When we went out for meals, she always chose the most expensive dishes, but I never minded spending money. I wasn't short of it. Soon, we confirmed our relationship.
She takes great care of people. Because of business socializing, I often have to drink.
Every time you fly to Yunnan, I'll buy kudzu root powder for you and make it for you to drink, like a caring wife.
Since I was nearing my 30s and my family was urging me to get married, being with her wasn't just for fun, I was serious about marriage.
My parents both work in government agencies, and with my own earnings, we are definitely a well-off family. According to Emily, her parents were laid off early, and her family's situation is quite different from mine.
The older generation values matching social status, but I didn't care. As long as I liked her, my parents would support me.
I almost gave my heart to Emily. Anything she looked at twice, I would immediately pay for it.
One day, as I was just lying down to rest, I suddenly noticed Emily hiding under the covers, crying. I hurried over to her, concern in my voice.
Sweetheart, why are you crying?
Emily's shoulders shook as she sobbed, making my heart ache.
My mom is ill. The doctor said she needs surgery, and the initial cost is $70,000. I only make a little over $10,000 a month. Even if I save every penny, it would take me half a year.
Without hesitation, I took out my phone and transferred $100,000 to her account.
That's what I'm here for.
As she wiped her tears, she insisted on paying me back.
I promise I'll pay you back.
Your mom is like my mom. Don't worry, I'll cover the follow-up treatment costs.
Hearing this, she threw herself into my arms and cried loudly. Then, she slowly pressed me down, and we spent the night together. However, there was one thing I couldn't quite understand. Emily had been working for almost 3 years. If she made $10,000 a month, she should have some savings by now. How could she not have a single penny to spare? Anyway, I had already given her the money. As long as it could help her mom, that was all that mattered. I decided not to think too much about it and held the beauty as we went to the bedroom. Once you ask for something once, there will always be a second time. Since then, I realized I was almost becoming her family's health insurance.
I'm feeling down again.
Whenever I asked, it was always about her mom's medical bills.
My mom's medical bills are piling up again.
I knew it was time for me to open my wallet again. Each time, it wasn't much, just 30 or 40,000 yuan. We would spend thousands just going out to have fun, so I didn't really mind. Later on, her brother needed money for his engagement.
My brother's engagement needs some financial support.
Her dad scratched someone's car and needed to pay for it.
Dad scratched a car and needs to pay for the damages.
All these expenses were reimbursed by me. These were just small amounts, but the main issue was her. Emily was a loyal Apple fan. Every time a new iPhone, iPad, or MacBook came out, she had to buy it. Her collection was more complete than an Apple store. When other flight attendants in her crew got new bags, she would always complain about having to save up and eat frugally to get one.
It's so hard to save up for a new bag. I have to eat so frugally.
Please don't, it would be a disaster if you got another kidney stone. I would always say this and then transfer 5 or 10,000 yuan to her via WeChat. After getting the money, Emily would be all smiles, either showering me with kisses or pushing me onto the sofa, turning into a little wildcat. After being with her for a while, I started noticing some odd things. Whenever she called or texted, no matter how busy I was, I would prioritize her. But when I wanted to reach Emily, unless it was a specific time, she was almost always unreachable. Every time I asked, it was either her phone was dead, she was on a flight with her phone off, or she had flown all day and went to bed early at the hotel.
My phone was dead. I was on a flight all day and went to bed early at the hotel.
However, when we lived together, I never noticed her having any habit of getting beauty sleep. Sometimes, after a few rounds with me, she could still stay up half the night watching short videos, while I would be dead asleep like a log. Maybe working on a plane was indeed exhausting, with all the serving drinks and meals and taking care of passengers. At least, that's what I thought at the time. Perhaps I was too attentive to Emily, and coupled with my generous spending, she had long seen me as a wealthy tycoon. On holidays and anniversaries, the gifts she asked for had escalated from 1,000 yuan phones and clothes to tens of thousands of yuan worth of watches and bags. Her birthday was coming up next month, and I was pondering what to get her this time. Emily came back, strutting in her high heels. "You're back early. Why didn't you let me pick you up?"
I hitched a ride with Sarah after the flight.
Sarah just started her internship, and she bought a car? I remembered Sarah had just started working, and every time I picked up Emily, we would give Sarah a ride, and she would take the bus home.
Sarah's boyfriend gave it to her. Guess what kind of car it is?
I didn't respond and continued balancing the accounts. Seeing my silence, Emily placed her long, black-stockinged leg on my arm and started to whine sweetly.
Darling, even Sarah has a car now. Why don't you buy me one too?
The story unfolds with a simple inquiry. "Why do you need a car when you're away half the month?" I asked.
Oh, come on. I just don't want to trouble you. If I had a car, I could come back right after my flight. I miss you.
Emily gave me a playful punch and looked at me with a hint of sadness in her eyes. I remained silent for a moment. I told her to wait a bit longer and that she could use my car if needed. I pulled out my car keys as I spoke. My car was a 2014 Subaru Legacy, a high-end model I bought for 330,000 yuan. I took great care of it, and it still looked brand new. Emily's face fell immediately.
You don't care about me at all. You can't even buy me a car for my birthday.
I felt a pang of frustration. Emily's colleagues knew how well I treated her. It wasn't that I was stingy, our company had been facing some financial issues recently, and I was short on cash. We ended up having a big argument, and she stormed out. For the next few days, Emily barely spoke to me. She would come home and shut herself in her room. We were in a cold war for about a week. I tried to show concern for her work, but she ignored me, absorbed in her phone. I felt a mix of anger and helplessness. But thinking about her job as a flight attendant, dealing with all sorts of passengers every day, I decided to give her a surprise on her birthday. Unfortunately, she had a flight on her birthday, so I went to City B in advance. Once I arrived, I waited near the airport. I planned to greet her with flowers after her shift, hoping to see her move to tears and running into my arms. Enduring the boredom and waiting, the time finally reached 8:30 p.m. City B, located in the south, was in the peak of summer, and the mosquitoes were relentless. I had at least 4 or 5 itchy bites on my arms. Finally, I saw our crew finishing their shift. A line of tall, uniformed flight attendants emerged from the airport, with Emily standing out among them. I recognized her instantly. She waved goodbye to her colleagues and headed straight for the parking lot. I hurriedly grabbed the roses and gifts I had prepared and followed her. Emily! I called out, but she kept walking as if she hadn't heard me, her high heels clicking on the ground. Emily! I called her full name this time. She seemed to glance slightly but didn't slow down, walking even faster instead. Suddenly, 2 headlights lit up in the parking lot, and a brand new Mercedes Maybach S450 drove out. Emily quickly opened the door and got in, and the car sped away. I watched the taillights disappear, feeling a mix of emotions. I pulled out my phone and called her. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. In the end, I didn't get to celebrate Emily's birthday. For 2 consecutive days, I called Emily numerous times, but her phone was always off, and she didn't respond to my WeChat messages or texts either. Finally, on the 4th day, Emily came home. As soon as she walked in, she gave me a cold glance and went straight to her room.
I went to City B on your birthday to surprise you.
I broke the silence.
I know.
Emily said indifferently as she sat on the bed, pulling off her stockings. I had traveled all the way to City B, thinking that no one would be with Emily on her birthday and wanting to surprise her, but she didn't appreciate it at all.
Why did you ignore me when you clearly heard me calling you?
Because I was upset. You have no idea how often Sarah brags about her boyfriend buying her a car.
She meant that ever since Sarah got a car, she had been showing off and subtly provoking Emily. She questioned why I was so stingy, considering my business was doing well and I could easily afford a car worth around 200,000 yuan. Emily was always at a loss for words and didn't know how to respond. Later, during our argument, we brought up the issue of the Mercedes. Emily didn't hold back.
It belonged to a businessman I met on a flight to City B. He wanted to get to know me. Initially, I hadn't planned to pay attention to him, but when I saw you, I got angry and got into his car out of spite. We just had a meal together, and then I went back to the hotel arranged by my company. Whether you believe me or not is up to you.
It seemed she was genuinely angry, and I started to reflect on my actions. Emily, being such a strong-willed woman, had always been a star in her team and even in the entire airline division. It's normal for women to have a bit of vanity, especially someone who has always been at the top and doesn't want to be outshined by newcomers. After a while, with the help of a few friends, my company finally resolved its financial crisis and collected the money owed to us by other companies, so we had some cash on hand. The first thing I did with the money was to order a Lexus ES sports sedan, which cost 500,000 yuan in total. The moment I got the car keys, Emily's attitude towards me changed dramatically. With her fiery red lips, she kissed me several times on the face, and before the night was over, she pulled me into the bedroom for some exercise. Finally, our Cold War ended, and we were back in a passionate relationship. But it was all because of the money. Ever since Emily started driving the new car I bought her, she has gained a lot of attention at work. Previously, Sarah would often show off her car to the other girls, but now her 200,000 yuan Volkswagen Magotan pales in comparison to Emily's 500,000 yuan Lexus ES.
Wow, Emily. Is that your new Lexus? It looks amazing.
Yes, it is. My boyfriend bought it for me.
Emily's other flight attendant colleagues also looked at her with envy, thinking she was incredibly lucky to have found a handsome and wealthy boyfriend. In less than 2 years of dating, I had spent over 2 million yuan on Emily, both inside and out. My willingness to fulfill her every request was driven by the hope that we would eventually get married, not just for fun. As I was getting older, my family was urging me to consider marriage seriously. So, during the Mid-Autumn Festival when Emily was on her annual leave, I bought many gifts and accompanied her back to her hometown, planning to meet her parents and propose. Initially, Emily was reluctant, but she eventually agreed to take me along after my insistence. We arrived in Sea City, where her family lived, and entered a rather ordinary neighborhood. I already knew that her family's financial situation was quite modest. As soon as we walked in, I met her mother, a woman who appeared to be in her early 50s. To my surprise, she didn't look as ill as Emily had previously described. In fact, she seemed quite energetic.
Oh, so you're the boyfriend.
Her family didn't show much enthusiasm upon meeting me. After accepting my gifts, her mom put her feet up on the coffee table and started cracking sunflower seeds, while her brother lay on the couch playing with his phone. Although their lack of manners bothered me, I didn't say anything. During dinner, I brought up the topic of wanting to marry her daughter. Her mom looked me up and down with a disinterested expression.
What do you do for a living, and how much do you earn per month?
I answered humbly, hoping to make a good impression.
Annie, I run an internet company. After deducting costs, my fixed monthly income is around 400,000 yuan, and it can go up to 500,000 yuan during good times.
Oh, that's not much. I thought someone running a company would earn at least $1 million a month.
Come on, Auntie, do you think I'm printing money? Her mom and brother then started bombarding me with questions as if they were conducting a background check.
Do you have a house? A car? How many children in your family?
I own 2 properties in a city, have a car worth 300,000 yuan, and I'm an only child with no siblings.
I thought this would meet their standards, but to my surprise, they were still not satisfied. The elderly lady eyed Jack, her tone dripping with sarcasm.
Young man, our Emily has received excellent education since childhood, with a focus on nurturing her talents. My husband and I have put in a lot of effort and spent a significant portion of our savings just to help her become a flight attendant.
Jack understood the underlying message clearly.
Auntie, don't worry. After Emily and I get married, I will make sure she never faces any hardships. I will treat you and uncle just like my own parents.
That's to be expected, but
But
our Emily is so young and beautiful, and she has countless admirers. I think she has better options to consider.
Jack felt a surge of anger. Better options? Had he just been wasting time with Emily for the past 2 years?
Emily, you know how I've treated you. Why don't you say something?
Emily's response was like a cold knife to his heart.
Jack, I told you not to come, but you insisted. Now it's awkward, isn't it? Actually, my mom doesn't agree with us being together.
Jack's mind raced. If Emily's mom didn't agree, why had she always accepted his gifts and money?
Does it agree with us being together? Then why did you always take the money I gave you, accept the things I bought for you, and occasionally ask for more?
According to her family, someone with Emily's qualities shouldn't settle for someone like Jack. At the very least, her suitor should be a millionaire.
We have high expectations for Emily. Even when you offered $1 million, we still refused the marriage proposal. It's not just about the money.
Jack felt a deep sense of betrayal and confusion. It seemed their expectations were far beyond what he could offer. Jack had spent so much time with Emily, investing countless emotions. It was hard for him to let go, but Emily was unwavering in her decision.
Emily, can't we work this out? We've been through so much together.
No, Jack. It's over. My family doesn't see a future for me with you. They think I should marry someone wealthier.
Jack felt his heart sink. Compared to those rich guys, he was just a small business owner. After a frustrating meal in City C, he left the next day, accepting that their marriage was off the table. Upon returning to City B, Emily officially broke up with him.
Fine, Emily. But you need to return the valuables, forget the meals, housing, and trips. I want the car, the money for your mom's treatment, and the various transfers back.
No, Jack. I'm not returning anything. I deserve it after all this time.
This led to a fierce argument. Emily, no longer the gentle and considerate person she once was, packed her things and drove off in the car Jack had given her. That evening, Jack received a call from Emily's mom, which completely redefined his understanding of shamelessness.
Listen here, Jack. My daughter spent so much time with you. She deserves those things. I haven't even asked you for compensation for her youth.
Auntie, I understand, and I don't want the bags and jewelry back, but I need the new car and the money. In less than 2 years, I spent nearly $2 million.
Forget it. You won't get a penny back.
Auntie, you can't do this. You can't play with my sincere feelings.
Giving money means you're cheap. You are willing to give because you're a fool.
Beep, beep, beep. She hung up, leaving Jack feeling deeply insulted. No matter how Jack tried to get the money back from Emily afterward, she ignored him. She would turn off her phone at fixed times, and even when it was on, she wouldn't answer. Eventually, she blocked all his contact methods. During that period, I was extremely downcast. My emotional setbacks had severely impacted both my work and business. Seeing me in such a state, my friends constantly tried to cheer me up by inviting me out. One of my buddies, nicknamed Mike, was particularly attentive. When his company faced financial difficulties, I was the first to lend him money without interest, allowing him to turn things around. Upon learning about my situation, Mike cursed Emily and her family.
Jack, don't be upset. Your problem is my problem. I won't let my brother suffer in silence, darn it.
With that, Mike pulled out his phone and called his trusted contacts. It turned out that Mike's hometown was Bee City. I had previously complained to him that whenever Emily went to Bee City, she would lose contact for a while, her phone would be unreachable, and she wouldn't respond to messages. Mike then called a few of his childhood friends in the area to investigate what Emily was up to. Besides Mike, other friends also brainstormed solutions for my troubles, leveraging their networks to dig into Emily's background and uncover any secrets she might be hiding. My friends were not only savvy in business but also had extensive connections. In less than half a month, they had thoroughly investigated Emily. One day, while I was reviewing the company's financial reports, an unfamiliar call came in.
Hello?
Hello, is this Mr. Jack?
Yes, who is this?
Who I am isn't important. I'm calling to talk about Emily. I know you two have been having issues recently.
The caller suggested meeting at 7 p.m. As I was contemplating whether to go, Mike called and informed me that this person was someone he had found through his connections and had a lot of information on Emily.
To protect your reputation, I'll only make the introduction and advise you to know as little as possible about the rest.
I had to admit, my friends were incredibly considerate. I went to the designated restaurant with peace of mind and met the person who had contacted me. He was a handsome young man, but unfortunately, he had a noticeable limp in his right leg.
Jack, my name is James. Mike asked me to meet you.
Have a seat.
We ordered a table full of dishes and began our conversation. That day, I learned from James about Emily's true nature, which completely shattered my worldview.
Emily is a manipulative person. Her actions are beyond words.
Calling Emily manipulative would be an understatement. Her actions were so vile that it was beyond words. James used to be a flight attendant and met Emily on a flight. His good looks and charming personality made him the heartthrob of many female colleagues.
James, could you help me with this luggage? It's way too heavy for me.
Of course, Emily. Anything for a colleague in need.
Emily, being ambitious, didn't want her princess-like status in the crew to be threatened. She decided to make the first move and began to accidentally interact with James. With her stunning looks and clever tactics, she soon established a romantic relationship with him.
Emily, I can't believe how well we get along. You're truly amazing.
I feel the same, James. It's like we've known each other forever.
However, secrets don't stay hidden forever. After some time, James discovered that Emily was far more cunning than he had imagined.
Emily, I found something in your suitcase. Why do you have so many phones?
Oh, those? They're just for work, different contacts for different flights.
According to James, besides being involved with him, Emily had affairs with several other men, mostly wealthy individuals she met on flights. Her beauty, charm, and flirtatious nature easily captivated these affluent men.
Emily, I've seen your WeChat accounts. Each phone is linked to a different wealthy man. What is going on?
James, you have to understand, it's just business. These men are my clients, nothing more.
Emily's meticulous planning was terrifying. She scheduled and prioritized her interactions with her benefactors, even creating an Excel spreadsheet with clear dates, times, and plans.
You have a spreadsheet for all of this? Emily, this is beyond anything I imagined.
I need to keep track of everything. It's complicated.
Among her benefactors were factory owners, CEOs of listed companies, and real estate developers. James realized he was just another small fish in her pond.
I thought we had something special, Emily. But now, I see I was just another name on your list.
James, please, try to understand. It's not what you think.
Emily didn't miss any opportunity to make money even on the plane. The first-class lounge and restrooms were her battlegrounds. She even had ambiguous relationships with other flight attendants and crew members, keeping herself incredibly busy.
Once, I went to the first-class cabin to find her, but she wasn't there. Shortly after, I saw her coming out of the restroom with disheveled hair, followed by a portly man.
James's discovery of Emily's double life shattered his trust and left him questioning everything he thought he knew about her.
Emily, I don't know if I can ever trust you again.
James, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you.
And so, James had to face the harsh reality of Emily's true nature, a realization that would haunt him for years to come. Speaking content. It wasn't hard to guess what James and Emily were doing inside.
I felt furious at being deceived by her, but I also got greedy and demanded money from her.
He believed Emily, with her wealthy patrons, could easily provide him with a substantial amount. If she refused, he planned to report her to the company, ensuring she faced severe consequences.
And then? Did you get the money?
James took a sip of his drink and shook his head.
Not only did I not get the money, but she also retaliated against me. Looking back, I realize how foolish I was.
According to James, Emily was not only cunning but also had a strong sense of vengeance. With the help of that man, she falsely accused James of being a heartless player who toyed with women's emotions. As a result, James was fired from the airline company and lost his job.
But that wasn't the worst of it. One day, while I was walking down the street, I was suddenly grabbed, thrown into a sack, and shoved into a car. They took me to a remote area and beat me all night long. They threatened me, saying that if I ever dared to ask for money again, they would make sure I disappeared for good.
At this point, James extended his deformed leg, tears streaming down his face.
This leg was shattered by them with a hammer that night.
Mike, a local with some connections in B City, had found James through a private investigator. If it weren't for Mike's promise to protect James in the future, James wouldn't have had the courage to tell Jack all this.
Although James brought this upon himself, I couldn't help but feel some sympathy for him. So, I handed him 150,000 yuan, hoping it might help him recover.
James was moved. After considering for a long time, he handed Jack a USB drive.
This contains photos of Emily entering hotels with wealthy men, as well as some intimate moments with me. I'm already ruined, so I don't care about my reputation anymore. Jack, you need these more than I do.
James's intentions were clear. He knew he couldn't fight Emily on his own and hoped to use Jack's connections to seek justice.
If you truly want to bring Emily down, she won't stand a chance.
Actually, I hadn't intended to take things this far, so I decided to call Emily. To my surprise, she answered this time.
Hello? What do you want? We have nothing to do with each other anymore.
I tried my best to control my anger and said, Emily, let's talk this through calmly. I don't need the things I gave you, but you need to return the money. What I meant was that we were a couple once, and it's better to part ways amicably without causing any unpleasantness.
Are you out of your mind? Please, that money was given willingly by you. Why should I return it?
That's not right. You said your mom was ill, and your brother got into trouble. Your family didn't have enough money, so I transferred the money to you to help.
Nonsense! Are you cursing my mom? Your mom is the one who's unwell. My mom is perfectly healthy.
Well, she did sound quite vigorous when she cursed me over the phone a few days ago. I'm giving you one last chance. Are you going to return the money or not?
No, what can you do about it? Eat me? I stayed with you so many times for free.
Then I heard a man's voice on the other end.
Baby, who are you talking to?
An idiot. Now that your nagging wife isn't around, let me take good care of you.
And with that, the call was disconnected. This time, I wasn't angry. I could even guess that the man on the other end was the mine owner with the Maybach. Looking at the small black USB drive, a thought of revenge began to take root in my mind. Emily, since you're being so heartless, don't blame me for being ruthless. Through Mike's network, I easily found information about the mining boss who drove the Maybach. I copied the contents of the USB drive and sent a copy directly to his wife.
Hey, did you send that info off yet?
I nodded, a slight smirk on my face. Other friends helped me track down a few more people. Some received the information at their workplace's administrative department, while others got it through the disciplinary committee.
Got the files. Sent them off to the admin department this morning. The disciplinary committee just received the documents. They're not going to be happy.
For a while, the benefactors who had been supporting Emily were in a state of panic.
How could she do this to us? I can't believe we've been deceived.
The biggest victim was a real estate businessman who had given Emily a $2 million Maserati in B City.
You gave her a car worth $2 million.
I can't believe you fell for her lies. I'm filing a complaint with the airline.
Emily was grounded.
But it was all a misunderstanding.
Without her benefactor's protection, Emily's activities on the plane were exposed, leading to her dismissal from the airline.
What am I going to do now?
Those benefactors were only interested in Emily's looks and gave her money just to be with her. Once their reputations were tarnished, they had no choice but to take the final step.
I need to find a decent person to marry.
Emily thought of me as her savior and fallback.
Jack, you were the only one who truly cared for me. Can we start over?
But I was prepared. I sent her a lawyer's letter demanding the return of all the money and gifts she received during our relationship.
Ms. Emily, you are required to return all money and gifts received during your relationship with Jack.
Initially, I thought I would only ask for the money back and let her keep the bags and other items as mementos of our past.
Maybe I should let her keep some things. No, I earned it all. Why should she get them for free?
So, I demanded everything back.
You can't do this to me. I won't return a thing.
At first, she and her family tried to deny everything, thinking I couldn't do anything about it. But they underestimated my friends. One of my buddy's wives worked at a TV station, and with my consent, she exposed the whole story.
This is going to be huge. Are you sure about this?
Absolutely. Let the world know.
Emily became infamous.
I actually love Jack. We just had some minor disagreements.
Watching her cry on TV, I couldn't help but laugh coldly. She was just afraid of having to return the money.
She's just putting on a show.
I didn't buy her act. I submitted all the records of my expenses for her to the court and proceeded with legal action.
All the evidence has been submitted. We'll take it from here.
Justice was finally served. During this period, Emily's mother called me multiple times, her attitude taking a complete 180-degree turn. She even started calling me son-in-law, which made me feel utterly disgusted.
Jack, back then I was just worried about my daughter being taken advantage of, so I didn't agree. But after discussing it with your uncle, we've decided that you're honest and ambitious. After much consideration, we agreed to let our daughter marry you.
I'm sorry, but after much consideration, I don't think I can measure up to your family. As you said, I'm nothing and quite foolish. Your daughter marrying me would indeed be a loss for her. I think it's better to leave it at that.
I could almost picture her mom's disgusting expression at that moment.
No loss at all. Child, what are you talking about?
She quickly explained, still holding onto a sliver of hope. Unfortunately, I'm not a fool and had long seen through their family's bizarre nature.
But I feel like I'm at a loss. Stop wasting time and pay back the money, or we'll see each other in court.
Ha! They should take a good look at their daughter. Involved with several wealthy men at the same time, she had her schedule perfectly planned out, a classic case of someone discarded after being used. However, I really have to thank her mother. If she hadn't opposed our relationship back then, I might have ended up being the real fool. Generally speaking, gifts given to a lover are considered gifts in the legal sense. According to Article 185 of our country's contract law, a gift is a type of contract.
Expenses during the relationship, such as daily meals, movie tickets, and other small items, are considered exchange gifts and do not need to be returned as they are gifts.
However, for expensive gifts like buying a house, a car, or purchasing gold and jewelry, these gifts are essentially conditional, implying a condition of marriage.
If the relationship breaks down and they separate, the recipient of such valuable property constitutes unjust enrichment in legal terms, and the giver has the right to demand its return.
Even if the other party tries to deny it, I have ample evidence on my side and will certainly receive legal support. After considerable effort and the issue going viral online, Emily's reputation was utterly ruined.
I can't believe this is happening. Why won't they listen to me?
Facing the furious netizens' relentless insults, her explanation seemed weak and only made things worse. During this period, more and more negative information about her family surfaced.
They just keep digging and digging. How is it fair to drag my family into this?
For instance, her brother was known for his gambling addiction, frequent fights, and petty thefts, making him a regular at the local police station. Her mom had a notorious reputation in the neighborhood, using the ill-gotten money Emily earned to support a young man, proving the saying like mother, like daughter. As for her dad, he was no better, dressing flamboyantly for square dancing and constantly flirting with elderly women, often getting beaten up by other old men. I was practically overwhelmed with the endless gossip. Under the pressure of public opinion, the court's verdict came swiftly.
Emily's family is ordered to return a total of 1.5 million yuan of illegal gains, including a Lexus ES sedan.
No, this can't be happening. We can't pay that amount.
Even after the verdict, they tried to evade responsibility, so I applied for compulsory enforcement. In the end, their house was auctioned off to repay the debt, and they were blacklisted on the credit system.
What have I done to deserve this?
As for Emily, the exposure of this incident led to the uncovering of a large illicit business operation. She was not only involved herself but also acted as a broker, eventually landing in prison. It was truly a case of karma coming full circle. As for me, I found a silver lining in the situation.
Hey, my wife wants to introduce you to her best friend. She's really nice and comes from a good family.
This girl was just as attractive as Emily, and her family was well educated, not wealthy but well off. After learning about my painful love history, she felt deep sympathy for me, thinking I was a devoted person who had sacrificed a lot for love.
I heard what you went through, and I must say, you're really strong to have handled it all.
Gradually, she became my girlfriend. She now works as an accountant at our company, managing not only the company's finances but also my personal finances.
I need to keep an eye on your money to prevent you from being deceived by another bad woman.
I couldn't help but laugh.